We have spoken to this man many times on this program and frequently after a Super Bowl. He's been calling NFL games for Westwood One Radio, and I'm the Monday Night Football host for that. So we've had conversations after Super Bowl weekend in which he's been sorely disappointed not hearing his name called for the Hall. That changed this time around. Mm-hmm. He got a door knock. And he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame 2022 class. Thrilled to have here on the Rich Eisen Show, Tony Boselli on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. How are you, Tony?
Well, Rich, I'm doing good. I like to thank you. That's a good intro. It sounds much better than usually after the Super Bowl when we talk. It's much more enjoyable.
Right. So, okay. Tell me about the door knock from Anthony Munoz, of all people. Fellow Trojan and fellow now Hall of Famer. That had to be pretty cool for you.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, like everyone else had someone from their franchise who was a Hall of Famer. So, obviously, Jacksonville, I'm the first. So, there was no one to knock at my door. And if you could have listed, Rich, all the people in the world that I would have wanted to open up the door and see welcome me to the Hall of Fame, there's not a better person than Anthony Munoz. You mentioned he went to SC. He set the standard. He's the best ever, in my opinion. It's the position I played. He's a guy that I wanted to be like. It's like that's who you would model your game after. Over the years, we've become friends, and he's always been super supportive. And so, like, that moment was going to be awesome regardless of who knocked on the door, to be clear. Because, I mean, you're going to the Hall of Fame, which is the highest individual honor you can get in the game of football. But when it was Anthony Munoz, and I opened that door, and he's in his gold jacket, he gives me that big hug, and my family's behind it, it's a moment I'll never forget. It's like one of the, we all have highlights in life, like these big moments, getting married, having kids, whatever they are. And this is going to be one of those for me.
And what was that moment like with your wife, Tony? Because I know with my wife, she, one of the many things I love about her is whenever I'm slighted or she feels I've been slighted, she's not only there to, pick me up or give me the, kind of, screw them sort of conversation. So what was it like to actually celebrate this moment with somebody who's been by your side for all those times where the door didn't get knocked, Tony?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we've been married. It'll be 27 years this year. I mean, we dated in college. She was there when I got drafted. She was there for the big moments as a player, as a Jaguar, Hawaii, All-Pro, a lineman of the year, all the big stuff. She was there when I got hurt, too. And I found out my career was over. And she dealt with, me being down and depressed, and I mean she's my best friend, and to be able to, and she's like you just said it, Rich. I mean she's the one who's in my corner. My wife is the nicest person in the world, literally the nicest I've ever met. Outside of two things: if you talk bad about her husband or her kids, she will come kill you. And I mean, it's just like watch out. Like I'd be careful. Angie Boselli's coming after you if you talk about her husband or her kids.
Right.
And for her to be a part of that moment for me, I mean, it's obviously I'm going into the Hall of Fame, but she's coming with me and my kids and my teammates and like my close friends. And the best part about it is, they voted on the 18th of January. The knock happens on the 27th, so that's 9 days in between.
Right.
She got a phone call from the Hall of Fame on the 19th, the day after, letting her know that I made the Hall of Fame. Because they have to schedule the knock, and I travel a lot, and where am I going to be? And she kept it a secret from me for 9 days, and she played it up perfectly. She acted like she was worried that I hadn't heard anything, because I'm getting anxious. And when it all happened, I looked at her, I said, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, what else have you been lying to me about in 7 years? Because you're really good at it. You're really good at this. So,
wow.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, so because they have to let somebody in your family know because they can't bring Anthony Munoz and, you're out doing a grocery run, right? I mean, like you got
right.
and I'm sure, you have to make sure that everyone's around that you wanted to be around. And she had to arrange, but that had to kill her, right? For 8 days.
I don't know how she did it, Rich. I mean, she had to get my mom was there. Mm-hmm. She had my stepmom because my dad passed away in last year, so which was probably the only disappointing thing because he couldn't be.
Right.
I was really close to my dad, but you had to get my stepmom, my kids. Some live in South Florida, some live in Gainesville at the University of Florida. She had to get all them there, and she orchestrated this entire thing, and I had no idea. I opened that door and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
It's Anthony Munoz on your stoop and his jacket, right? Extending his hand.
Jacket and just gives you that big hug. And I was just like, this is awesome. And then we got to sit down and talk. And Anthony and I are friends. So it just made it that much special. We got some bubbly out, little champagne toast. And it was awesome. It was just it's what life's all about. Because to me, making the Hall of Fame is amazing. It's like huge. But to be able to experience that with the people you love and who've been there and have been cheering you on, and it was glorious. It was awesome because the 5 years before that, we'd be in a hotel room or whatever. We'd find out I didn't make it, and they'd all be crying. I'd be sitting there, the only one not. I mean, I was upset, but like my wife's crying, my kids are crying, and so just to take that and remember those disappointments where everyone experienced that together, which is part of life too, and that's why you love family. But to see them as excited and go to the Super Bowl and experience all the big moments, it's just been a great ride. It's been awesome.
Tony Boselli here on the Rich Eisen Show, and again, to go to the Super Bowl in Southern California, right, where you played your college ball, and and who the hell knew there would ever be a Super Bowl back in Los Angeles, and let alone a moment for you where you could see maybe some of your old college mates or hit campus. That's pretty cool awesome. Too, right?
And we had a party Thursday night after the honors that the Jags helped host on campus at USC at Heritage Hall. And Rich, you mentioned about the Super Bowl being back in LA for the first time. The last time I played in 1994 at USC was the last year the Rams and the Raiders were in LA. And so like the full circle and come back and to be inducted to the Hall of Fame in LA, the whole thing, it was amazing. We had this big party, and there's so many great moments, but I'm just going to brag on my wife some more because she, as I mentioned, my dad died on Memorial Day last year, which anyone who's lost a parent, that's just devastating. And I knew the year, earlier that year when I found out I wasn't going to make the Hall of Fame again, that he probably wasn't going to make it because he had cancer. And so you go through it, you go through all the emotions, and it was emotional when I found out. I knew my dad, he wasn't here with me. And so what I didn't know, we had this party Thursday night after the honors at USC, and at the end of it, or near the end, they run this video. It's all my friends and family like congratulating me, and just really cool little moments, making fun of me, which I love. I love when people take shots because it's good stuff. And at the end of it, all of a sudden, my dad pops up on the screen. And my wife and one of my best friends, a guy named Eric Murphy, 12 days before my dad died, convinced him to do a video congratulating me on making the Hall of Fame.
No way.
Oh, wow.
And Rich, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it here. I couldn't even watch it. I had to put my head in my hands, and I still haven't got up like the strength to go back and watch the whole thing because he lost me when he said his opening words. He says, "I'm so proud of you, son." And I was like, I'm done. But it was such, the fact that my wife and my friends thought about doing that and making that a reality. So just like so many cool moments.
Wow.
And I'm a fortunate man, Rich.
I lost my dad in 2019. I'm getting choked up hearing it, because I'm part of that unfortunate fraternity of having lost my father, and you gave me goosebumps. That had to be incredible. Oh my gosh, that actually happened, and now you can actually see the video, and you are that Hall of Famer, man, and you're the first as a Jaguar. It's incredible. It really is.
It doesn't replace him not being there,
of course.
But you know what? It doesn't. It's his best. It was awesome.
Wow, Tony.
And awesome.
Tony Boselli here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, I just mentioned you were the first Jaguar to go in the Hall, right? You were the first Jaguar ever. So one day now you will get to knock on the door of another Jaguar, right? Like if this is the way that this is going to be done from now on, you're that guy. Whose door do you think you should be knocking on, Tony? Give me some names.
I'm going to bring up a guy who was a semifinalist this year. He had to be a finalist in Fred Taylor. And I think Fred Taylor was probably one of the most underappreciated running backs in his area. He has over 12,000 yards. He averaged 4.6 yards a carry. He gets knocked because he, didn't make All-Pro and, not a big number of Pro Bowls. But if you go ask anyone who played with him or anyone who played against him, there was not a more dangerous back. And his stats back it up. And I'm hoping, sometimes in smaller markets you don't get recognized. I mean, if a guy like that would have played in Dallas or New York in a big market with the numbers he put up and the way he played, he was a superstar. And I saw it firsthand. I got a block for him. And he's a guy that I think needs to get recognized, and it would be pretty cool if one day I get to do that. He's been a semifinalist. Hopefully he gets in the room where they can debate him, and we'll see what happens.
Tony Boselli here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before I let you go, I want you to put your paparazzi hat on and tell me what you think won. What was the thing that won Super Bowl 56 for the Rams? I can guess a number of the guy, but he wasn't the MVP either. So what do you make of that Rams win and why it happened, Tony?
So it was the least amount of football I've watched in the Super Bowl because I was too busy enjoying myself. Rich,
Understood.
But from what I watched and going back and looking at the game overall, it goes back to the fact of the basics of the game of football. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, you can't block people up front. It's really hard to win. Now the Bengals had overcome it, and they'd done it so many times. At 9 sacks, and the Titans, they overcame it. Their defense had played so well in the playoffs. But at some point in big moments, it's going to come back to haunt you, and it did. And I don't know how Aaron Donald, and that's taking nothing away from Cooper Kupp. What an amazing year he had, and he's an amazing player. But Aaron Donald in that defensive front dominated Joe Burrow, and if they didn't, the Bengals win that game because Joe Burrow was going to tear him apart. But he never had time, and Aaron Donald, who is just a man among, he's a man. He's dominates games. He takes over, and he did. And at the biggest moment, he made the biggest play. So that's where it comes down to. So
who does Aaron Donald compare to, a guy that you were trying to block back in your day?
Yeah, I think, he reminds me a lot of John Randall. Similar size, explosive, really powerful. I think Aaron's probably maybe a little quicker, but I think John Randall probably his motor goes a little stronger, a little harder. John Randall was a guy who, like, every snap, backside, front side, was just going to come after you and try to take your head off. And I'm not saying Aaron Donald loafs or anything. Aaron Donald's, so quick at the point of attack. But that's probably, body type and how he played. You look, people talk about, is Aaron Donald the greatest defensive player ever? I don't know. And I really don't care. I think it's a dumb argument because I'd say, what about Bruce Smith? What about Lawrence Taylor? What about Deacon Jones? I mean, what about Ronnie Lott, what he did at safety? And so I think it's just dangerous. We live in a culture where it's recency bias. And what we see the latest is the greatest. And that's, Aaron Donald's in the conversation, and that's all that should matter because all the guys, when you get to that level, it's like I was joking with Bruce Smith when he came up on stage after he introduced me at Honors, gave me a big hug and congratulated me. And he had his red jacket on,
yes,
100-year team. And I said, Bruce, thanks. I'm so excited to be a Hall of Famer, but that jacket means you're in the Hall of Fame of Hall of Famers. And ultimately, that's the type of player Aaron Donald is.
Well, that's why Bruce Smith was wearing it, right? That's that's a flex. That's a flex. But here's what really matters when it all comes down to it, Tony, is every single person you name, with the exception of Deacon Jones, is going to be there to shake your hand for years to come in Canton, Ohio. And that crazy ass Randall with his war paint and everything that trying to get in your head all those days and years, you're his peer and the greatest club, period, for football in Canton, Ohio. And that's it. And you will be the one shaking Aaron Donald's hand when you welcome him in. It's so cool, and I can't wait to be there and watch this all wash over you, man. Like, I've seen it so many times that right now your first blush in it and you've got all these preparations and you're going to feel like you're getting married again, right? Because of invitations and all of that, you know, and you're going to, it's going to feel like your second wedding, right? But then when it comes time to get the jacket slipped on you and to reveal your bust and to walk into that Nitschke luncheon and see all of those gold jackets around you and you're one of them now, it is so amazing. I can't wait to watch that for you, Tony. Can't wait. It's going to be great.
Rich, I appreciate it. And as someone who has loved the game of football since I can remember, it's all I ever wanted to do. And the fact that what you just described, I'm going to be a part of, is you talk about getting emotional and just like having to pinch yourself, making sure it's not a dream, because it's better than any dream I've ever had.
Congratulations. High five your wife for me. Seems like she pulled off quite the caper. It seems like she pulled off quite the caper. So
I appreciate it, Rich. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
Always.
When I didn't make it, and now that I made it. So thanks.
We have to keep it fair and balanced. Thank you, Tony. You be well.
I love it.
Take care, man. You got it. Tony Boselli, right here in the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.